This is Jin with SeductionUnleashed.com, helping you unleash your best with women and beyond. And today we're about to tackle one of the most common issues, which is even more mistakes that men make with the no contact rule. And there is going to be an original link to the original first version of this video at the end of this video, as well as a bonus step at the end. So I would stick around for that, bro. So without wasting any more time, number one is breaking first. In fact, to be honest, I'm surprised this shit wasn't in the first video, because this is, first and foremost, is one of the most obvious things. At the end of the day, if you're over here trying to check her by taking away your energy, one of the worst things you can fucking do is be the first one to break. I mean, naturally, it's difficult when you're at home and you don't have an abundance with women, or you don't have a bigger purpose in life that you're chasing. You're at home, you're trying to pass the time, you're trying to find different things to consume your time, whether it be entertainment, whether that be Netflix, whether that be beating off, smoking weed, playing Fortnite, whatever the case is, you're trying to bide your time. And then over time, what are you looking at? You start looking at her profile, start looking at her Instagram, you start maybe even looking at that apology that she's sending you, telling you to, you know, I get it, I understand now, and etc. And instead of sticking strong, instead of sticking to your guns, you're sitting there weakening moment by moment till eventually you're hitting her up. And being the first one to hit her up is one of the worst things you could do, because again, it's like your word has to be bond as a man. If your word is not bond, then you become like a woman, basically, and that shit is not gonna fly. The moment she sees that you are someone where you can say something, but yeah, I can kind of push him a bit and he'll soften up a bit, that shit right there is a big weakness. And I'm telling you, do not break first. And I mean, I think at some points we all have. A lot of times that maybe 1 second you're saying 2 days, and now that 2 days turns into 2 hours, or a week now turns into 2 days, etc. You keep lowering the bar, and eventually you start going back on your word, and that's just not what you want to do. Common mistake number two, using it before she's hooked. Because to be honest, truthfully speaking, I know early on when he's talking to a girl, you may be at the point where she's not really into you. Truthfully speaking, if you have not even kissed the girl, if you have not even had any kind of deep conversation with her, going no contact rule, sometimes it does work. It does work. Look, at the end of the day, you're a high value dude. You got shit going on. Consider your life like James Bond. Even if you're at home, beating off, watching Pornhub, 800 million tabs, you got a crazy KD on whatever game is. Look, she don't need to know that. No one needs to know that but you. All she needs to know is that you're like motherfucking James Bond. But ultimately, I just want to make it clear that don't be surprised if a girl that isn't hooked, you know, you ignore her for a week or two, and then, you know, nothing really happens, because sometimes that's just also the risk you have to take. But also, at the same time, a lot of times this also can go well. You can take a girl who maybe wasn't all that hooked and at least show her a bit that you aren't a needy guy, which will at least lead to you not being put into the friend zone. It may not lead to you getting the pussy right away because she's not yet hooked at all, but it at least will keep you from being put into that pussy needy fucking friend zone. But at the same time, don't be delusional into thinking that you can just be passive aggressive and play ignore to girls like women do to us, because early on, man, that may not just fly. And I'm just letting you know, because this is a warning that just has to be said. Common mistake number three, not having an explanation. Now I know the whole idea is that, listen, you cannot verbally argue with a girl, you can't have some logical conclusion or whatever the case is, and eventually, you know, it just gets to a point where men just realize the ultimate way to check women is to take away your energy. However, even though they're emotional creatures, they still have that left logical side of their brain, and I think it's important to address it. But the only thing is, you want to establish that you have that neutral fucking voice. I call it the neutral voice, neutral poker face. Every man needs to have a voice that you have, where you have no emotion, where you can just speak in a way where it's like you're not being petty, you're not being angry, you're not trying to overly be dominant, but you're speaking in a way where it's masculine, but at the same time, you're not giving her any signs. You're not giving her any emotions, whether that be positive, whether that be negative. It makes you hard to read, and ultimately it makes your words that much more powerful, because she's looking at you and she's not trying to cling to, because if you notice with arguments or whatever the case is with women, they'll cling to any little thing that they could argue. You can make a whole, like, you could say a whole argument and 90% will be genius. If 2% is stupid or some shit that she could cling on, she'll start arguing with that 2%. Or if you show that little 2% of emotion here, she'll start arguing with that little bit of emotion. By not showing any emotion in your voice, in your face, that right there, it just immediately checks her. It puts her on the spot where she cannot read you, and she's there trying to listen. Look, ultimately what I'm saying is that if you do not give her any explanation, she's not gonna really get it. Ultimately, you have to be able to tell her something, but without getting emotional. And it may be tough because you may just want to be like, bitch, stop giving me fucking drama about this situation or whatever the case is, and you went fucking crazy. But you're gonna have to not do that. You're gonna have to be calm, and you're gonna have that poker face. But you know, you have to be comfortable communicating with a woman, because I think as men in general, culturally throughout society, we do not hold women to high enough standards. Like if you just think of dudes, like what do you want in a relationship for a woman? Like a lot of times you'll hear shit like cooking and cleaning and sucking your dick and not nagging. And it's like, really, those 4 things, that's the best we can do. And a lot of times it gets to a point where we cannot communicate we can't communicate in a way the things that we want a woman to improve upon. So if we're in a relationship with a girl, a lot of times it's like, yeah, I want you to be sexier, I want you to wear some lingerie more, but we're not really conditioned or used to giving specific commands about the things that we want or don't accept. And a lot of times it takes those negative experiences, unfortunately, with those toxic types of women before you start to learn the things that you do and do not really fuck with. And that is so important. And being able to communicate that shit, first of all, when you do go no contact rule, when you tell her, when you let her know that, listen, what you did, to be honest, it kind of turned me off, and I think you need some time to cool off, or we need some time to cool off, and I'm just gonna take a couple days. And then you go no contact rule and you fade away. And when she comes back, understand that you need to re-establish what went wrong. Maybe not then and there at that very moment where you guys talk again, but you need to let her know, like, hey, I know yesterday we were talking and we were cool again and things seem to be normal again, but I want you to know, like, originally what happened, that still has not left my mind. I want you to understand that when you blah, 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 etc., and you let her know what it is that you did not accept and what it is that, at the end of the day, man, if you cannot, she doesn't know, then she's just gonna keep doing it again. If you make it very clear in a calm, neutral manner, no emotion, she has no excuse. She can't say, oh, it was a big argument, I don't remember that part, or she can't do none of that, because you made it perfectly clear. You sat her down and you let her know, especially if it was a situation that repeated itself. Then, believe it or not, even though I know we say verbally shit doesn't work with women or whatever case is, truthfully speaking, if you at least really cement it verbally in a way where it's strong, there's no emotion, it's neutral, I'm telling you, it's a lot more powerful than simply going, oh, you gave me drama, or just disappearing and expecting her to know. Because a lot of times as dudes, we don't really want to communicate. We just kind of want to say, hey, don't do that, or don't do this, or that shit gave me drama, or whatever the case was. But ultimately, man, you have to be specific, and you also make her go through some hoops too. Don't let her just walk right the fuck in, man. Hey, and I'm not just saying sexual favors too, because even that, I feel like, is, for men, we tend to punish chicks. Like, oh, well, I'm gonna punish you. To earn your way into my graces, you're gonna have to, do some sexual favors or do whatever the case is. And I don't really fuck with that shit, because even that, to a certain degree, is too easy for women. Women, they use their vagina like it's a biological weapon, and it's almost too easy of a pass. You need to make her work a bit before she just walks right in. Not only do you need to let her know logically, but you need to let her know something that at least puts some effort in. Hey, write me a poem, girl. Hey, you're sorry? Prove to me that you're sorry. Prove to me that you actually want to be taken seriously. You're not just saying this so that you can get my stimulation all over again. Make her do something outside of normal shit. Don't just give her an easy opportunity to dress her vagina up and say, hey, walk back in like, I'm sorry. I'm doing the I'm sorry dance with my pussy. It's not gonna fly, man. We gotta start reaching for higher standards. Even me, myself, I still challenge myself to think of more new things to make women challenge, because ultimately this duality of us being the chaser and them being the receivers, it has to flip, especially when you're talking to a girl long term, especially if you're in a serious relationship with a girl, especially if you just keep a girl around for years. The reality is, to keep that dynamic going of you being the masculine leader and her being the feminine person, you ultimately have to flip that dynamic of, it's okay early on when we're chasing, but once we get the girl, that dynamic, it has to flip. You have to start making her chase and making her look forward to things progressing in a way where it's challenging her, not just, oh, I want to have more exciting sex with him So I'm gonna wait and see what he does. Or like, you want her to feel like, man, I have to step my game up. I have to look sexy for him this week, or I have to get in the gym and get in shape, or I have to start communicating better, or controlling my emotions better, or showing myself in a more way that he is impressed with, because that's the standards that he fucks with. And I really fuck with him because he's a stand-up dude who I like a lot, and ultimately I do not want to get replaced because I'm a goofy ass girl who's never had to be challenged. Because believe it or not, as much as these girls try to put up a big front, whatever cases, they like when they meet someone who finally challenges them and pushes them outside of themselves to actually do some shit other than the typical girl shit. Women, it gets old when they just have boyfriend after boyfriend after boyfriend, where they just excuse all their bad behavior, they let them get away with whatever the case, they're on their phone, they eat ice cream, the fucking boyfriend doesn't do shit, he buys them more ice cream, buys them more phones, just feeds their bad habits even more, and eventually, man, even that shit gets old. Even that shit gets old. When you have everything in the world, guess what? You have nowhere else to go but down. Give these bitches some shit to go up. That's all I'm saying. It's not about making them feel bad. It's not about any of that shit, but give them something to work for. And ultimately, I know I'm getting a little bit off topic, but this is how it goes sometimes, man. It's just how it goes. I didn't even get to the bonus step. So the bonus step, what is the fucking bonus step? Let me check. Oh, okay. The bonus. Here's the bonus. The bonus is using it too much. This is something that Juice listed as a bonus step. And I think the reason why he said it was because ultimately, man, if you do something too much, it's going to lose its potency. If you're every single time, you're just taking a week off and taking a week off here and there, and you're not letting her know, or you're not making it a solid thing where you're following up and making sure that she does what she's supposed to do or doesn't do what she's not supposed to do, and you just keep trying to use it like it's a magic pill, that in itself is also kind of weak too, man, because hey, like I said, everything's saturation. Oversaturation ultimately becomes a little bit weaker, so that's something to keep in mind. Now, what do you know about the no contact rule that has worked for you? If you know anything, leave it below in the comments, and I would love to read that shit. So if you enjoyed that dope, incredibly popping video, and you want to see more on dating, relationships, self-improvement, and motivational content, hit that subscribe button right there. And if you want to continue your journey into pimpage and beyond, hit that video right there. So with that being said, bro, unleash your best, and remember, until next time, confidence is bred by competence. Peace.